So next up on our agenda is Director Angie Gladwell from the Hermit's Peak Calf Canyon Claims Office. And that's all that I'm going to say. Angie, over to you.
Good evening, buenas noches. Good to see you all, many familiar faces. Glad to be here this evening to talk to you about what's been going on with the claims office and where we are, and have you meet some of our team members. So I also want to specifically thank Commissioner Cerna. Thank you very much for helping us have this opportunity to bring you up to speed and helping us in coordinating this event. We very much appreciate it. So tonight, I'm going to be discussing the progress that we've made in hiring and training local staff. I'm going to talk about our plans to open our offices in Mora, Las Vegas, and Santa Fe to the public starting next week, Wednesday, April 26th. What you can expect once you submit a notice of loss, some important claims office timelines, and upcoming opportunities for compensation through the partial payment process. Before we get started, I'd like to emphasize one important point. We here at the claims office have both a legal and a moral responsibility to all of those impacted by the Hermit's Peak Calf Canyon fire. And we've been designing this program so that it works for you. We understand also that disaster recovery is never fast enough. We also understand that recovering from this fire has been a uniquely challenging and often frustrating experience for many. And at the direction of Congress, we're building the claims office as a brand new program that's completely independent from FEMA's traditional programs. And I want to emphasize that in the context of federal disaster recovery programs, we're building out, starting from legislation on September 30th of last year to program implementation, faster than any other program of this size in FEMA's history. In the last 6 months, we've worked hard to develop internal claims processing and review policy. We've interviewed, hired, and trained local staff who understand firsthand the recovery needs of this area. We've also contracted with a team of claims reviewers, built out 3 physical offices, conducted initial outreach to over 400 claimants, and we will soon be making our first partial payments. It's my personal commitment to ensure that claimants that are impacted by the Hermit's Peak Calf Canyon fire receive the total compensation they are entitled to under law with as little burden to you as possible. Next slide, please. As many of you know, on September 2022, President Biden signed the Fire Assistance Act, which total allocated $3.95 billion to provide compensation to those impacted by the fires. Between November of last year and this January, we held 6 public comment meetings in San Miguel, Mora, Taos, and Colfax counties to provide the opportunity for the public to provide feedback on the interim final rule. We received over 300 public comments on the interim final rule, and we're working to address the comments and finalize the rule. I want to provide a few upfront clarifications on this program. The office will compensate for personal injury, property losses, business losses, and financial losses resulting from the Hermit's Peak Calf Canyon fire, to include flooding and other impacts. The Hermit's Peak Calf Canyon Fire Assistance Act differs substantially from our FEMA disaster assistance programs. Importantly, the Act provides compensation for those impacted by the fire that will be distributed through the claims office. Whereas FEMA's Individual Assistance Program, as designed, only provides funds for basic work to make a home livable. We feel confident that we can address a large majority of the concerns raised in the public comment period now in how we're implementing the program. We intend to move forward with implementing as much of the claims process as possible while we finalize the rule. During today's presentation, I'm going to discuss the partial payment process that we've developed to ensure compensation is made to claimants quickly for those more straightforward losses. Also, we understand the importance of trees to your culture and your livelihoods, and the language in the Hermit's Peak Calf Canyon interim final rule was taken from the Serra Grande regulation. It does not reflect the unique characteristics of the area affected by this fire. We are designing the claims process so that all losses, including tree loss, will be addressed fairly and equitably. We're also working closely with the state of New Mexico, the Attorney General's Office, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, including the Natural Resource Conservation Service, the U.S. Small Business Administration, and other federal agencies to inform our claims policies and process and align our programs in a way that works for you. Next slide, please. We have done a lot of listening, and based on your feedback and what I have learned about your experiences and your needs, I want to first tell you about the values and the principles that I have put in place for the claims office team members. First, compassion. We conduct every interaction with our team, our partners, and New Mexicans impacted by the fires and floods with compassion. We know your grief and your loss, and that you carry it with you every day. We also want to help you use this program to reduce future losses from fire and flood where possible. Second, fairness. We make every decision fairly on this team, from operations to claims settlement, upholding the dignity of everyone involved. We know you are concerned about being treated fairly, and fairness is in the forefront of our minds as we begin to process claims. Third, integrity. The team is accountable to the public to ensure we choose courage over comfort, choose what is right over what is fun, fast, or easy, and choose to practice our values daily. We want to be straightforward with you, tell you what we know, what we don't know, make commitments to you that we can keep, and make the best claims decisions we can to meet your needs and be stewards of this funding. And fourth, respect. We value individual perspectives and experience, ensuring that in every interaction, we treat teammates and claimants with respect. We want to meet your individual needs, whether that's coming to you, providing assistance in getting through the process, or other needs. We are using these values to guide all aspects of our program development, from hiring to program design to claims operations, and we call it the Claims Office Way. And I encourage you, if you're talking to any of our staff, any of our navigators, ask them about it if you want to know if we're really living those values in the way that we work. Next slide, please. First, I committed to you that we would hire locally, and we have made good progress on that commitment. I'm excited to announce that as of April 10th, 30 locally hired staff have joined the claims office. Oh, just a second. The majority of our local staff are serving as claims navigators, many of whom are already working with claimants one-on-one to guide them through the claims process. And additionally, we have contracted with a team of claims reviewers who will work to process the details of your claims, similar to that of an insurance adjuster, So I now just like, we've got a lineup here. I'd like the claims navigators that are here in the room, if you're otherwhere in the room or if you're coming in, just to come across for a minute, just so that everyone can see who they are. These dedicated staff work out of our offices in Mora, Las Vegas, and Santa Fe. Not everyone's here tonight, but here's a few of our team. And they're going to be available after the presentation to answer questions. They'll even take your notice of loss or help you submit it if you would like to. And I can tell you, this is a dedicated group right here. They are so passionate about this mission and what they're doing, and it's shown in everything that they've been doing so far. And I just want to thank each of you for representing our claims office values every day. We certainly couldn't do this without you. So thank you very much for being here. All right, thank you, team. I am also proud to announce the selection of 2 key leadership positions who are also from here in New Mexico. First, our Deputy Director and the Claims Office Advocate, if they can come on up. So first, I'd like to introduce you to Jennifer Carbajal, our new Claims Office Deputy Director.
Buenas noches. Hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer Carvajal, and I'm the Deputy Director of the Hermit's Peak Calf Canyon Claims Office. Yo también soy de aquí. Yo también soy de aquí. I also am from here. I have a house in Rociada. I was an impacted resident and had to evacuate as well. I understand the frustration to get to this point, but I'm here happily to say that we're working really, really hard to try and make the process as seamless and easy as we can for the claimants. So please come forth with your questions in inglés o español. También hay muchos navegadores que hablan español también. There's also a lot of navigators that speak Spanish as well. So please feel free to come forth with your questions. And as Angie committed, we'll be as transparent as possible to tell you what we do know, what we don't know, what we're still working on. But we're here to help each other get through it. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. And I'd also like to introduce our Claims Office Advocate, Paula Gutierrez.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Paula Gutierrez, and I am a tribal member from Santa Clara Pueblo. Before joining the team at the claims office, I worked for FEMA Region 6 as a tribal relations specialist that supported the 25 tribal nations here in New Mexico and Western Texas in building up their emergency management capacities, capabilities, and also advocating for them on their behalf, not just at a regional level, but also at a national level as well. And prior to my experience with FEMA, I was Emergency Management Director for Santa Clara Pueblo, which was impacted at the time by the largest fire, which was the Los Conchas fire, which burnt 80% of our forested lands, and which then resulted in some subsequent flooding events, which were post-fire flooding. So being able to have to go through all that process on the emergency management side, be able to try to understand the different programs within FEMA, the different agencies, and the different resources that currently exist can be frustrating, and also to a point to where you don't really know what questions to ask. And I'm very fortunate that you all requested and wanted that level of equity and fairness, and for our director to be able to listen and be able to actually build this program and build this support for you. So my office is to be here to address any issues and challenges that you are enduring throughout the process, to be a resource for you. And the good thing about this is that I'm not alone. I have 2 individuals that I have just also hired, which is Damian Chavez and Elmer Martinez. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Jennifer and Paula. I just have to say, it's been, they've only been with us for a couple of weeks, and their expertise, their local knowledge is already making a huge difference in their program. They're helping us figure out what we need to be doing and how we need to be doing it, and it's just already making such a big impact. So anyway, we're so glad to have them on board and to be part of the team. Thank you. Okay, so now I want to talk to you about the opening of our offices to the public. And I just told you that I was going to be frank with you and tell you what's easy and what's hard and all of that. And I have to tell you, opening offices is hard. There's a lot of details that go into it, right? And 3 of them as well. And so I am excited that we are going to be opening our offices in Mora, Santa Fe, and Las Vegas to the public next Wednesday on April 27th. I'm going to amend this a little bit to tell you specifically about the situation in Las Vegas. So Mora and Santa Fe will definitely be open next Wednesday. Las Vegas, we're working down to the wire. There's a lot of things that we're still trying to wrap up. Our goal is to have it open next Wednesday. At a minimum, we are going to have people in Luna Community College starting Monday. Thank you. And you can walk into Luna. We will be advertising that information, and you can sit down with claims staff at that time. And so we'll give you more details next week to let you know definitively if Las Vegas is open or not. But just know we're trying really hard. And so we'll be announcing the locations and the operating offices for our offices early next week. So individuals who visit our claims office will be able to meet with staff to discuss the claims process, pick up or drop off a notice of loss, schedule an appointment with a claims navigator who can help you fill out your notice of loss and discuss the specifics of your claim. Also, it's important to remember we have a helpline. The helpline is also open Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and it's staffed by claims office employees here in New Mexico who are prepared to answer your questions. Next slide, please. Okay, what you can expect once you submit a notice of loss. We're encouraging anyone impacted by the Hermit's Peak or Calf Canyon fire to submit a notice of loss to start the claims process. Once you submit a notice of loss, a claims navigator will reach out to you directly to begin collecting information on your full range of losses. As of this morning, we have received 513 notices of loss, and claims navigators have conducted initial outreach to 470 of these claimants. During this initial call, your assigned navigator will help you make any necessary additions to your notice of loss, discuss the overall claims process with you, and help you identify straightforward losses that may be eligible for a partial payment, which we'll talk about in just a couple minutes. As we begin working on your claim, we can also connect you with a state disaster case manager, if desired, who can provide a wide range of recovery resources outside of the scope of the claims office, including the identification of licensed contractors and recovery resources near you. Allie Rye and Ashley Salsi, who are here tonight from the New Mexico Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, they will be providing you with an overview of the disaster case management program following this presentation. So now I'd like to talk a little bit about claims office timelines. Next slide, please. We know that many of you have questions pertaining to the release of the final rule and how this impacts your claim. The claims office is currently adjudicating the public comments collected on the rule and using these comments to help guide the finalization of the regulations for the claims process. Under the Act, claimants have 150 days from when we formally acknowledge your notice of loss form to complete the proof of loss, and we're just starting to formally acknowledge notices of loss now. The Act also states that the Claims Office has an additional 30 days to provide claimants with a final determination on the amount to be paid on the claim. So that's a total of 180 days. Your assigned claims navigator will work with you to ensure that your full range of losses are captured under the proof of loss. We understand that some of you have losses that cannot be identified fully during this time. So I want to be clear that any claimant who is unable to collect estimates or receipts for the full scope of loss during this 150-day period for good cause will be granted an extension. That is my commitment to you. These timelines are not designed to place a burden on the public. It's designed to keep me accountable to you. And no claimant will be penalized for engaging in this process from the beginning. As I mentioned previously, we're confident we can address most of the comments raised by the public in response to the interim final regulations using interim policy while we wait for the final rule. Our number one priority is to ensure that all claimants receive the full range of compensation allowable to them under the law. And I want to be completely clear, upon release of the final rule, every single claim will be processed for full eligible range of losses under the final rule. And just as a reminder, the last day to file a notice of loss is November 14th, 2024. So now I'd like to talk a little bit about partial payments and flood insurance. Next slide. A partial payment is a payment that can be made before final settlement of the claim. Typically, partial payments will be focused on more straightforward losses with simple documentation requirements that we can review and process efficiently. So some examples of this include, but are not in any way limited to, flood insurance policies, which is a very important opportunity that I'm going to discuss in more detail. Evacuation and temporary lodging expenses, reimbursement for certain straightforward property losses, debris removal expenses, and medical expenses, and small business administration loans with interest. You may have additional recovery activities that have not yet been completed or costs that you haven't yet incurred, which may well be suited for a partial payment. We are training our claims office staff to help identify these opportunities. Your navigator will walk through this process and the documentation requirements and options. It will be your decision on whether to pursue a partial payment. By accepting a partial payment, you do not waive your right to pursue a different remedy for the remainder of your losses. You do not need to make this choice until the very end of the process. If you choose not to pursue a partial payment, your assigned navigator and claims reviewer will work with you on next steps to prepare the proof of loss for your full claim. Next slide, please. We have heard and understand the need for multi-year flood insurance coverage, and we're exploring options to meet this long-term need within the limitations of the law. Meanwhile, given the future risk of flooding in areas impacted by the fire, if you have a concern about flood risk as a result of the fire, we want to work with you to get a flood insurance policy as quickly as possible. The claims office can reimburse both for an existing flood insurance policy or the purchase of a new flood insurance policy for those who have a reasonable fear of heightened flood risk due to the fire. What this means is if you live in Mora or San Miguel County, you will automatically be eligible for National Flood Insurance Program insurance policy coverage under the claims office, as long as you are in a National Flood Insurance Program participating community. We can also reimburse claimants for private flood insurance policies for those who live in a non-participating community, such as the village of Wagon Mound here in Mora. We may also be able to pay for your flood insurance if you live outside of these two counties and are concerned about flooding as a result of the fires. We will simply need to evaluate the request on a case-by-case basis. Our claims navigators have been trained to ensure that all claimants are aware of this opportunity. You should include your request for flood insurance policy coverage or policy reimbursement in your notice of loss. And I just want to note, based on the way the law is written, that says that we can only pay premiums through the end of May of next year. If you go ahead and submit a notice of loss, and you can submit a notice of loss just for flood insurance if you're not ready to submit your full claim, we can go ahead and work with you to get a premium in place, and then under the current law, we can pay for 2 years of flood insurance premiums. As you rebuild, it's important to work with your local building officials as well to ensure you follow the appropriate standards. Just as a reminder, this is going to protect your community, and it will ensure that the continued availability of flood insurance in your community. So lastly, I would like to turn to the topic of non-economic damages. And really this is pain and suffering is the way many think about it, that resulted from the fire. We know that this is a concern, and that I have suggested over the last 6 months that non-economic damages may be available under the claims office. We have consulted with the Office of the New Mexico Attorney General on this topic. Unfortunately, the claims office cannot pay non-economic damages because those damages are not available under the legislation, under the law, and for the most part, under New Mexico law. It's important to remember that if you come into our claims process, we're going to work with you to get flood insurance, to address your eligibility for a partial payment, and then work together towards a determination on your total compensation offer. You can decide once you receive a total compensation offer if you feel you need an attorney, you want to appeal, or you want to seek a path through the courts. You can make that decision anytime during this process. You do not forgo that opportunity by submitting a notice of loss with the claims office. It's our goal to help you receive full compensation quickly and without undue burden. Going directly to the courts will most likely be a lengthy multi-year process with an uncertain outcome. By going to court, you will also be unable to pursue important risk reduction and flood insurance opportunities that are available under the claims office. As I've said, it's my personal commitment to ensure claimants injured by the Hermit's Peak Calf Canyon fire receive all the compensation that they're entitled to under the law. So just a few next steps, and then we're going to go to questions. Again, our claims offices will be open starting next week. We'll announce hours of operation and locations next week. This information is going to be available on our Facebook page. So if you haven't already, please follow us on that site. You'll notice the logo in the bottom left-hand corner. That is our Hermit's Peak Claims Office official logo. That's how you know that information that you may see is coming from us. If it does not have that logo on it, it is not coming from us. So I just want to make sure that as you're getting lots of information about the claims office, what we're doing, what we're offering, we want to make sure you're getting the best and most timely information that we can. So please look for that logo. We share information frequently through many channels. We'll be on radio shows and through other media, and also all of our products are going to be posted on this Facebook page. Next Wednesday, our Deputy Director, Jennifer Carbajal, and Advocate Paula Gutierrez will be here in Mora next Wednesday at the Cleveland Recovery Center from 10 to 2 to meet with the public and answer any questions that you may have. We will also have printed notices of loss available. And again, I just want to emphasize, if you've not submitted a notice of loss, now's the time to do so. Again, you have till November 14th of 2024. And once you do, the claims navigator will reach out to to you directly to discuss next steps. I now want to open the floor to questions, and I'm going to turn things over to Ned to help us navigate through this.
Thank you, Angie. So we have a mic runner up here, a mic runner in the back here. Angie gets to keep her microphone because she'll be giving all the answers or directing answers of some of her team members. And I will also be keeping my mic and can pass it off to folks up front here. If I could just ask people, if you have a question, again, raise your hand, we'll bring a mic to you. Try to be as succinct as you can with your question so we can get through as many questions as possible, okay? So what I'm gonna do is, just a minute, sir. So I'm gonna go back to, there was a question right here. Okay, thank you, sir. Please state your name and then your question.
My name is Jason Keza. With the statement that the HPCC Claims Center will only be processing economic damages, does acceptance of an offer preclude or require the claimant to waive rights to future pursuit of non-economic damages?
So at the very end of the process is when you have the final offer from the claims office, that's when you will make the determination to accept the full offer from the claims office or to go another route.
So with respect to your...
Just 1 second. If you could please state your name and then your question.
Name's Mark. Okay, so with respect to the proof of loss extension deadline, you said you would grant that for good cause. What is good cause?
You requested and need it.
So anything.
So I'm going to apply good cause extensions very liberally. Again, the timelines were not put in place to be a burden to you. They were a burden for us to get you compensation as soon as possible. So if you need that time to continue to put claims documentation together, if there are additional losses that you feel like may come forward, those are the things we want to be able to work with you on and not put you in a position that you can't get all of the compensation that you're eligible for.
Okay, we have a question right up here up front. Your name, please.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Mike Messina. I have a couple of questions and also a comment, if I may. Sure. When do you think the regulations are going to be final?
Good question. Rulemaking in the federal government is hard, and it's lengthy. We have adjudicated just about all of the comments at this point in time. The process is it needs to go all the way up through our FEMA administrator, needs to go to the Department of Homeland Security. They need to prioritize the rule along with all the other rules in the Department of Homeland Security. Then it goes to the Office of Management and Budget, and they need to prioritize it across all of the rules in the federal government. We are working with those partners as much as we can to expedite that process, but it is what it is. And so that is why the majority of the comments that have been received on the rule can be addressed within the framework of the rule that we have now. We're just going to be in a position to offer you potentially more compensation, not less. And so we're going to implement this through interim policy.
Do you have any guess as to when that extended process might get done?
I wish that I did.
Okay.
Just because so much of it is out of our control, we're going to try to influence it, but we don't have a time frame.
Right. I wanted to ask you, what methodology do you use to determine the value of trees that have been lost?
So we are going through a process right now to look at the valuation across a number of the range of losses. So that process is underway and has not fully been determined. One of the things that we're doing as we're basically phasing our program. We're making key policy decisions every couple of months as we're building out the program, and then we'll be able to work with you on those losses. This is one that's coming up very soon. soon, and we're going to be doing some focus groups and some other public engagements on this issue of trees because it's so important to you to be able to get some input to help inform that process.
And then I want to, with due respect, make a comment, if I may.
Certainly.
Are you an attorney by any chance?
I am not an attorney.
Yeah. There were a couple of times that you made comments about the law or recommendations, and I don't think that's appropriate. I think you should urge people, if they have questions about those things, to seek their own counsel to get independent input on that.
Well, my job is to make sure that we are interpreting the law in the way that we're implementing the program. So I have some very experienced attorneys that are here in the back of the room that have been advising me on that as I go. And certainly you should use an attorney to, if you would like to advise your part of the process. But when I'm speaking to here, that's how we have done our legal analysis in terms of how we're interpreting the law for implementation of the program.
Well, I am an attorney, and with due respect, I think there were a couple of comments made that I wouldn't necessarily agree with.
We're happy
I'm sure you're acting in good faith. I'm not questioning that.
We're happy to have a follow-up conversation with you, sir, after the meeting to make sure that we're clear. Thank you.
So I think I have a question here. Oh. We'll come back.
Oh,
Hi.
there's a mic.
My name is Caroline Rackley. I want to know the helpline number, please.
Let's go back to the slide that has the helpline number on it.
Yes.
There it is. At the very bottom of the slide, it's 505-995-7133. And again, the hours are Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Thank you.
Yes, my name is Dave Sanchez. Just curious, you mentioned the recovery in Cleveland, the Cleveland Center. Where in Cleveland are we specifically talking about?
So let's turn to Jennifer. Do you want to speak to that?
Sure. So the building we're referring to is right on the border of where Mora and Cleveland meet. For those of you that have been here for a while, it used to be the co-op grocery store, the building there in the back. Yes, New Mexico Help is there, and we did coordinate with them, so we will be there from 10 to 2 next Wednesday. And as Angie mentioned, we're also going to have some upcoming focus groups throughout all the communities to solicit public feedback. The old clinic.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Oh, back here now.
Hello, my name is Marion Shooter, and when you spoke of flood insurance being available for 2 years, we're hearing that we could have problems with floods for 3 to 5 years.
Yes, ma'am. We very much heard that concern during the public comment period. The limitation that we're currently working with is the law says that we can pay premiums through the end of May of 2024. So our priority right now is that we are working on getting you a first-year policy paid and in place, given the risk of flooding more immediately. And we are working and exploring options for what might be in place to meet the longer-term need within the confines of the law. So we're exploring it. I just don't have an answer for you yet.
I just would like a clarification. My name is Phyllis Martinez. You said direct compensation, not reimbursement, right?
That is correct. This is a compensation program, so it's very similar to an insurance claim process where we determine the amount of compensation due to you and we provide you payment for that compensation.
Okay, and one more thing. On the slide that said non-economic damages, in the bottom it says going directly to the courts will most likely be a lengthy process. You will also be unable to pursue important risk reduction and flood insurance opportunities that are available through the claims office. That doesn't pertain to people who have seen an attorney already, does it?
So the flood insurance and the risk reduction are available only through the claims office and the claims process. So the point there was if you decide to go directly to court, those benefits are not available through traditional court.
Over here, please.
Question, you made mention, Ms. Gladwell, of legal advisors that you're using. Could we have their names and contact information?
Sure, they're here in the room.
Right, but there's a lot of people here in this room. Could you provide us their names and contact information?
So yeah, we'll follow up with you on what we can provide in terms of our legal expertise. Thank you.
My name is Micah Keza. 2 questions. How soon after final determination and acceptance will payments be received?
Very quickly. I mean, the process is pretty simple. So basically, you sign the release and certification. We provide you the letter of the determination of the amount. You have 120 days to accept it or decide you want to take another path. Once you accept it, you sign a release and certification form, and then we release payment. And it's a very quick process. I could give you a lot of accurate information if we had processed partial payments, but we have not. But I don't. We did process a payment to the city of Las Vegas to start some of their work on their water facilities, and the process went very smoothly.
Okay. One more question is about costs not yet incurred. You had mentioned it earlier. Are you guys going to prepay that? Like if we get estimates for things and include them on our loss?
It's a very good question. So we are, as I mentioned, we're phasing the implementation of our program and policies. Our first phase of the partial payments are looking at those more straightforward costs that have already been incurred. Our next phase, and what we're focused on right now, is building out an advanced partial payment. And so basically think about this. I can use the example of hay. If you are a rancher and you know that you need hay for your cattle, you don't know exactly how long you're going to need it, but you know that, say you need it for at least a year, then we can go ahead and provide a partial payment to you, while then we're working out the details with you on what a costing methodology would be for your full need as you build out into the future. So the short answer is yes.
I have a question. My name is John Mascarenas. I'm here from Cleveland, New Mexico. Has any of the agencies started to check on the floods that came this summer, but the runoffs in the spring and then the monsoons in the summer? Has any of the agencies did anything along that line to prevent it?
I don't think I'm in a position to talk on behalf of all of the agencies. If any other agencies in the room want to speak up, they certainly can. I can say, and we've also got some other folks from FEMA here as well, that we are very much concerned, like you are, about future flooding. I know that we're looking, again, that's why we're prioritizing things like flood insurance. We're looking at mitigation options that we can fund under this program to help you reduce future risk. We know that this is going to be an ongoing issue, but I would like to just say, is there anyone else in the room from another federal agency that would like to speak? Oh, Allie, behind me. I'm sorry.
No, sorry, Angie. Hi, good evening, guys. My name is Allie Rye. I'm the Deputy Cabinet Secretary for Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management here in the state of New Mexico. And I'm so sorry, I just said that really fast for the interpreter. You can do it again. Okay, thank you. So sorry, to address your question, the point of my agency is to be able to coordinate resources, be able to interact with the emergency managers that are in every county to make sure that they are prepared and that they have what they need. So to kind of elaborate a little bit more, we are just as concerned as you are. I coordinate frequently, not only with the Gov's office, but also multiple other state agencies, and we've been doing that for a couple of weeks now. I will tell you that we strategically have items placed throughout the state to be able to prepare, so that way when things do occur, we can go ahead and start shipping items into the county to help you guys. We're doing planning efforts with your emergency managers, so that way they're getting direct information from National Weather Service, so they know what is coming down. We're monitoring the gauges religiously, daily, in and out, to make sure that we're ahead of the spikes before they do actually occur. We've purchased a ton of sandbags that we're currently already filling.
That's all after the fact, though. Are you gonna do anything now before the runoffs come? You know, clean the not the seconds, but the rivers and put trenches along the roads?
So unfortunately, sir, my position is I can't come in until a disaster actually occurs. But what it does mean, hang on, I know that is not what you wanted to hear. But what it does mean is that I am preparing your emergency managers so that way they do have those resources. So they can call my office and say, hey, listen, this is what we think we need. We coordinate with the appropriate agency, whether it's United States Army Corps of Engineers, whether it's DOT, so that way we can get out there, get those technical assessments completed, so that way we know exactly where to put those HESCO bags, where to put those sandbags. So that way we're making sure that they are protected, that these areas are protected. We've already got a technical assessment that's coming up pretty soon to start cleaning out the gabion baskets that were placed last year in the end of the monsoon flooding. So there are many things that are occurring. It's all kind of a domino effect. We can't do one thing without impacting something else. So we're making sure that we're not putting a sandbag in a place that's going to affect a resident further on down the stream. Do you have any other questions that I can answer? I actually present next. So if you guys can hang on for just a few minutes, I promise I'm going to give you all a lot more information.
We'll go over here.
Thank you. My name is Conrad Cooper. I have a statement, which was, my family and I feel strongly that money spent on cleaning up the damage to our property from fire and flooding should not be deducted from our loss of property value settlement. So to phrase that as a question, if we get money from the Emergency Forest Restoration Program through the FSA, say they give us $500,000, and we come to you guys for our settlement and go, oh, we already gave you $500,000, so we're going to deduct that. Are you going to deduct monies that FSA and other organizations are giving us? Or are you going to deduct that from our loss of property value?
I think the details of this matter, it's not going to affect your loss of property value, but when you're looking at what the other agencies are doing, that's when we have to get into the details with the claims reviewer and the navigator to look at what is something that is going to be a duplication for the loss we'd be compensating for and what is not. And so I can't generally answer your question, but again, we can be available afterwards and we can maybe talk through a couple examples and we can bring our team in to make sure we can answer your question.
Sure, but just for one follow-up, just for example, okay, our place, we have 220 acres, 175 acres of that get burned to sticks, right? So the EFRP comes in and cuts down all the burned trees, and our road has washed out. We've already spent $16,000 on that. They come in and say, hey, we're gonna cover those costs of cutting down the trees, mastication, all this stuff. And then we come to you and say, hey, we still have loss of property value. The fact that they came in and cleaned up the flooding and cleaned up the dead trees doesn't mean, hey, we're good on that, right? Those are two different things as far as we're concerned. One thing is cleaning up the damage done. The other piece is our loss of property value. I just want to make sure that you're not going to credit cleaning up the damage against our loss of property settlements.
Those are two different things. I am going to just open it up if anybody on my team wants to add anything else, but they're two different things.
Okay, there's another question in the back.
Hi, my name is Mariano. My question is about the partial payments that you're going to be making for expenses that are coming up. Part of the loss of claims that we'll be making is probably the amount of trees and lumber that we've lost. And so in order to do that and do it accurately, we would need surveys to show what was there before and after. Is that part of that partial payments that you guys are going to be making?
Potentially, I would definitely start having that conversation with the claims. So we can provide assistance through our office for surveys, assessments, appraisals. We want to be able to tee this up in a way that gives you as many choices as possible. If you want to get your own person to do that work, you are more than happy to do that. We can pay for that. If you want us to help tap into experts to do that, we can also do that. But those are the types of things that we can do as we start to help you prepare your claim. And so that's different than a partial payment. A payment is a payment for an actual loss that you had. That's, from what I understand, is preparation for the claim.
Much less to pay for surveyors. That's my point there.
Well, absolutely, sir. And that's what I'm saying. We can pay for those types of things to occur to help you in preparation of your claim.
Just before the next question, I'd like, if anybody still has a question that you'd like to ask of Angie, can you just please raise your hand? I just want to get a sense of about how many we have. Okay, I think we can get through those 4 or so questions. So I think we're going to go back here.
Is it good? Okay. So with respect to proof of loss, what to your agency is going to constitute adequate documentation of that loss? Because there's going to be some complicated types of,
The type of loss matters in the answer to that question. So that's what our team is working through now. Our claims reviewers are working through all of the details about how those different losses are going to be valued. And again, that's part of what we're going to be having these focus group meetings and other things on to be able to get input. So I just want to be upfront and clear about one thing. So I had a choice to make as I'm building out this program at the beginning of October. I could build it out from beginning to end with all of the details, and then we could roll it out to you. That would probably mean we'd not be engaging with you on this program for at least till the end of the year. I made a different decision. I made a decision to prioritize starting to get the claims process rolling, starting to work with you, starting to learn about the specifics of your losses, and to implement this program in phases. I did it so that we could get you some compensation and some parts of your losses as soon as possible. What that means is that the process isn't fully built. It's not perfect at this time, and we don't have all the answers. We're doing these pieces in phases, and we're going to be getting some input along the way. And I committed to you back when I talked to you at the public comment period is that you might not like all the decisions that I make, but my commitment to you is I'm going to tell you why I made them. And so that's kind of where we are and why we've made the choices that we have so far and why you don't have all the answers at this point. But as we get more information, we're going to continue to come back to you and tell you what we have and what's next.
Back here.
Thank you. My name is Chris Bauman. My question is, if you have 180 days to make an award, how are you going to do that without a final rule?
So I'm going to be optimistic and hopeful that we can get to a final rule by that time. And if that's not the case, then again, we can decide at that point what we want to do, whether you want to grant an extension until you have that, if you want to be able to close the claim and we'll reopen it once we have the final rule. There's some choices to be made there.
In here?
Mr. Mascareñas' concern. You've got all these programs. Don't you have a program for prevention when we know that we're going to get flooded out?
So I can talk about the claims office. There are other FEMA programs that are focused on mitigation. And I know that is a big focus of the states-run long-term recovery program that if you want to talk about in a moment, certainly do. But in the claims process, we are able to fund risk reduction actions, and that is a priority for us. So for you as individual claimants, if you come to us and have a claim, that's something we're going to talk to you about. We'll have a menu of things that will be pretty easy things that you can decide you want to do. We can have other conversations about other types of risk reduction if there's other types of risk reduction you want to undertake. And because most non-federal entities can submit notices of loss under our program, we can also fund community level mitigation and other types of risk reduction as well.
After we get flooded out. We saw sandbags do not help. We saw K-rails running down the street. We had K-rails in people's yards.
Start the claims process with us now. Let's have that conversation.
With all these programs, can't anybody come up with a prevention?
Start the claims process with us now. Let us start that conversation with you. Allie, is there anything you want to say about?
So I can address that. Okay, so I'm Jeremy Class. I'm with DHSEM. I work under Allie and Secretary Dye. So at the state right now, currently in this disaster, we are working on a watershed line of effort. We are actually looking at scopes of work, and then we're doing that with our federal partners. That's the USDA, NRCS, the Forest Service, and they're helping us to stand up an actual incident command team where they can bring resources that we can address that. Okay, and then also they've got programs that are already in place, like the Emergency Watershed Protection Program that the NRCS is instituting to try and do long-term sort of preventative mitigation measures for these areas. The problem is with a 350,000 square mile, is it? Acres, sorry, yeah, acres, right? It's hard to get and it's very spatially variable. So we're working on mapping and identifying areas where we have addressed those. We've talked about and implementing and actually looking at projects to actually deal with some of that flooding and ongoing debris flow and what we're actually trying to do. We're getting money to put gauges out there so that we are currently monitoring, so we have a better idea about where those flows and those debris flows are actually going to occur and happen. We're working, and Allie had said there are some limitations to what we do and how we can respond to disasters by law, but we are standing up and getting all of the necessary needs to be able to address those things through this identification of the watershed line of effort. And that is coming through our federal partners. And so it is a proactive sort of instrumentation on addressing these upcoming flows and what we're actually going to see.
When are you going to start working on it?
Do you want to take that?
So what I'd like to do is actually move into.
We got these agencies from out of town. We've got ranchers, farmers here who know how to do it. They're the ones that said K-rails aren't going to work. Sandbags aren't going to hold that water. And we are seeing now the rivers and the acequias are coming up. You know what? We're not talking a month. Those things are going to come up in the next few weeks. We need prevention. We've got grants, we've got all these people here saying we got this program, we got that program. Prevention, help us to stop it before it occurs. That would save a lot of money.
What I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to do my job, which is to actually move on to our next speaker. One last question on this topic.
Okay, my name is Carlos. I'm a county clerk, Mora, New Mexico. Okay, so you want us to open a claim and we don't know yet what the ruling is on the claim. So when the fire came, it burned us out, and then soon after the fire came the flooding. So if you're gonna pay us partial, why don't you pay us all the damages that are owed for the fire, and then the second payment be for the flooding?
So as I was just talking about, we were building out the program in phases. So
That's the way it happened though, to us.
I understand. I guess the reality is we're building a new program. Is some of the issues are much more complex than others. And so we're trying to build a program and get money flowing while at the same time working through those complex issues. I also know that you as the public want to have some input on those as we're landing them. And so that also takes a little bit of time. So that's the why we did it the way that we did. And I know that, again, it's not perfect, but that's kind of how we are rolling out with the program.
If I may, if there are additional questions around this topic, I would encourage folks, this last topic that we've had, I think that there'll be opportunities right after the meeting to engage with the state and to other folks to just dig a little bit deeper. But I think it's a really important topic, so thank you.
Can I just say that the claims office team will be here afterwards, so if there are follow-up questions, we're more than happy to stay as long as we need to answer your questions.